Welcome to our Famous in America channel. In today's video, we will explore the assassinations of political leaders that have left an indelible mark on history. Join us as we travel through moments that shook nations and shaped our world. As we reflect on these tragic events, we will remember the lasting impact they had on the global political landscape. There is an extensive list of leaders around the world who have been killed in political attacks, with a significant portion of them occurring in African and Asian countries. Among the 135 assassinations of heads of state that have occurred since the beginning of the 20th century, almost 70% have been documented in Africa and Asia. But before we begin, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, because you're definitely going to enjoy it. Now remember 12 murders that had great international repercussions. Mahatma Gandhi, who was assassinated on January 30th, 1948, in New Delhi, India, stands as a monumental figure in world history. Although not a head of state, Gandhi's actions in India left an enduring legacy. He played a pivotal role in India's independence movement, leading the nation to freedom in 1947. Through his hunger strikes, he advocated for peace, utilizing fasting as a non-violent political tool through civil disobedience. During his hunger strikes, there was no negotiation. Either his demands were met, or he abstained from eating. Some of Gandhi's most famous hunger strikes occurred in the 1930s. After spending time in England and South Africa, Gandhi returned to India in 1915. He championed not only independence but also fought against the entrenched caste system, advocating for the rights of the untouchables, or Dalits, the marginalized within Indian society. However, his commitment to nonviolent protest for peace ultimately cost him his life. In 1948, he was assassinated by a Hindu extremist who disagreed with Gandhi's policy of harmony. Following India's independence in 1947, the country became a focal point of tension between Hindus and Muslims. The partition resulted in the creation of Pakistan as a separate nation. Up until his assassination in the following year, Gandhi attempted to mitigate religious conflict and opposed the division of British India into two countries. Throughout history, other notable figures in positions of power were also assassinated on Indian soil. These figures include Richard Bourke, 1822 to 1872, and Indira Gandhi, 1917 to 1984, who, despite sharing the same last name, had no familial relation to Mahatma Gandhi. Inejiro Asanuma, assassinated on October 12, 1960 in Tokyo, Japan. During a speech on October 12, 1960, Japanese socialist legislator Inejiro Asanuma was assassinated by 17-year-old Otoya Yamaguchi, an extremist sympathizer of the far right who was armed with a sword. In the region that is now Japan, the following leaders were also assassinated: Anko, 401-456, Sushun, 553-592, Ashikaga Yoshinori, 1394-1441, Ito Hirobumi, 1841-1909, Hara Takashi, 1856-1921, and Inukai Tsuyoshi, 1855-1932. John F. Kennedy, assassinated on November 22, 1963, in Dallas, USA. John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was assassinated on November 22, 1963, in Dallas during a motorcade that included his wife, Jacqueline Kennedy, and Texas Governor John Connally. The U.S. authorities determined that the shots were fired by former Marine Lee Harvey Oswald from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, using a Carcano rifle. At the time, the southern U.S. still upheld segregation policies against African Americans, and Kennedy had pledged in June of that same year to introduce a civil rights law for all Americans. This event became one of the most iconic attacks on political leaders worldwide, inspiring various forms of artistic expression, such as the movie Jackie, 2016, starring Natalie Portman as Jacqueline Kennedy, and the book November 22, 63, 2011, by Stephen King. The latter tells the story of a man who time travels to Dallas to prevent Oswald's shot, raising the question of how the United States would have unfolded had Kennedy's assassination been thwarted. The United States has also experienced the assassinations of other presidents, including Abraham Lincoln, 1809 to 1865, James A. Garfield, 1831 to 1881, and William McKinley, 1843 to 1901. Martin Luther King Jr., assassinated on April 4, 1968 in Memphis, USA. Much like Gandhi, the American Martin Luther King Jr. advocated for rights without resorting to violence and never held a governmental position. His prominence began to rise in December 1955 when he proposed and led the Montgomery bus boycott in Alabama, sparked by Rosa Parks' refusal to give up her seat for a white passenger. As a young pastor of the Ebenezer Baptist Church, he became deeply involved in the broader civil rights movement across the U.S., organizing and participating in various marches to secure voting rights for the black population. On August 28, 1963, he led a massive civil rights and peace march in Washington, where around 250,000 people gathered. It was during this event that he delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, expressing his vision for a future of racial equality and harmony. He said, "I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers." However, tragedy struck on April 4, 1968, when a shot fired by James Earl Ray struck King on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. He died instantly at the age of 39. James Earl Ray, who had a history of racist acts, believed that King was a traitor and that his organized marches had weakened the country. Luis Carrero Blanco, assassinated on December 20, 1973 in Madrid, Spain. Spanish statesman Luis Carrero Blanco was assassinated in Madrid by the Basque separatist group ETA on December 20, 1973, just 6 months after being appointed as prime minister by General Francisco Franco. Carrero Blanco was expected to continue Franco's hardline policies. Other leaders assassinated in Spain include Juan Prim, 1814–1870, Antonio Canovas del Castillo, 1828–1897, José Canalejas, 1854–1912, and Eduardo Dato, 1856–1921. Olof Palme, murdered on February 28, 1986 in Stockholm, Sweden. Olof Palme, a social democrat, was cold-bloodedly assassinated in Stockholm on February 28, 1986, at the age of 59. He was walking home from the cinema with his wife and without bodyguards when he was attacked. The murder shocked Sweden and remained one of the country's greatest mysteries for 34 years. In 2020, the Swedish judiciary announced that the main suspect, Stig Engström, had already died. Engström, also known as the man from Skandia, the insurance company where he worked, had been frequently mentioned in the press as a suspect in recent years. He opposed Palme's leftist ideas, and according to the prosecution, there were reasonable grounds to believe that the graphic designer, who committed suicide in 2000 at the age of 66, had committed the crime. Christer Peterson, the prosecutor in charge of the case, arrived at this conclusion after an exhaustive investigation, comparing it to the Kennedy assassination. The murder of Palme, a staunch human rights advocate and outspoken critic of various governments at the time, such as the United States for its intervention in the Vietnam War, and South Africa for its apartheid regime, traumatized Sweden and shocked the entire European social democracy. Palme, who served as prime minister from 1969 to 1976 and again from 1982 to 1986, was a controversial figure among Swedish conservatives. Some right-wing individuals even believed he might have been a spy for the KGB. Historical figures who held power in what is now Sweden and were also assassinated include Sverker I, 1100–1156, Eric IX, born between 1120 and 1125, died 1160, Charles VII, 1130–1167, Eric XIV, 1533–1577, and Gustav III, 1746–1792. Anwar Sadat, assassinated on October 6, 1981 in Cairo, Egypt. The assassination of Anwar Sadat took place on October 6, 1981. Anwar Sadat was the president of Egypt and was assassinated during a military parade in Cairo by Islamic extremists affiliated with the Egyptian Islamic Jihad. The assassination reflected tensions between Sadat and Islamic fundamentalist groups due to his policies and peace agreements with Israel, including the historic Camp David Accords. His death had a significant impact on regional and international politics, and his legacy continues to influence Middle Eastern politics to this day. In the history of Egypt, other leaders have been assassinated. They are Ahmed Maher Pasha, 1945, Boutros Ghali, 1910, Ibrahim Nafi, 1948, and Amin Osman Pasha, 1873. Yitzhak Rabin, murdered on November 4, 1995 in Tel Aviv, Israel. Yitzhak Rabin, then Prime Minister of Israel, was assassinated in Tel Aviv by Yigal Amir, a Jewish extremist who opposed Rabin's policies, on November 4, 1995. This event occurred 2 years after the Oslo Accords, which aimed to bring a peaceful resolution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. The assassination took place at the end of a peace rally. During Rabin's tenure, the first peace agreement with the Palestinians was achieved in 1993, and he was even awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts. Zoran Đinđić was murdered on March 12, 2003 in Belgrade, Serbia. Serbian Prime Minister Zoran Đinđić was assassinated in Belgrade on March 12, 2003. Serb Bosnian Sretko Kalinic was sentenced in absentia to 30 years in prison for conspiracy in the assassination. The region that is now Serbia has seen the following leaders who were killed: Murad Thut, 1326–1389, Mihailo Obrenović, 1823–1868, Alexander I, 1876–1903, and Dmitrije Tinkar Markovich, 1849–1903. Benazir Bhutto, assassinated on December 27, 2007 in Rawalpindi, Pakistan. The assassination of Benazir Bhutto occurred on December 27, 2007. She was the former Prime Minister of Pakistan and was killed in a suicide attack after addressing a rally in Rawalpindi. The attack involved a gunman who opened fire on her vehicle and then detonated a bomb, resulting in her death and the deaths of many others. Bhutto's assassination marked a significant event in Pakistan's political history, reflecting the country's volatile environment and the challenges faced by its leaders. Her death led to widespread condemnation and had profound implications for Pakistan's political landscape and the global fight against terrorism. Throughout the history of Pakistan, other leaders have been assassinated. They are Liaquat Ali Khan, 1951, Zia-ul Haq, 1988, and Nawab Akbar Bugti, 2006. Jovenel Moïse, assassinated on July 7, 2021, in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Jovenel Moïse was killed by an armed commando at his home in Port-au-Prince on July 7, 2021. A year later, investigations have not progressed significantly, leaving the masterminds and their motives largely unknown. Despite this, shortly after the crime, the Haitian police arrested around 20 individuals, including 18 former Colombian soldiers. Since Moïse's death, the presidency has remained vacant, and there is no set date for the election of his successor. Adding to the challenges, the justice system is in a more precarious state than ever. For a month, the headquarters of the Port-au-Prince prosecutor's office has been occupied by one of the numerous criminal gangs that control significant portions of Haitian territory. In Haiti, other leaders who have been killed include Jean-Jacques Dessalines, 1758–1806, and Vilbrun Guillaume Sam, 1859–1915. Shinzo Abe, killed on July 8, 2022 in Nara, Japan. Former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was shot and killed in Nara, Japan, on July 8, 2022. Abe, 67, was giving a campaign speech when he was shot twice in the back by a gunman. He was rushed to the hospital, but he succumbed to his injuries. The gunman, Tetsuya Yamagami, was arrested at the scene. He told police that he was unhappy with Abe and planned to kill him. Yamagami was a former member of the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force and had built his own gun. Abe's assassination was a shock to Japan, which has one of the lowest crime rates in the world. Abe was one of Japan's most popular politicians and had served as prime minister for 2 terms, from 2006 to 2007, and from 2012 to 2020. He was a strong advocate for the military alliance between Japan and the United States, and was also a champion of economic reform. Abe's death is a great loss for Japan. He was a charismatic and respected leader, and his legacy will be felt for many years to come. Other leaders have been assassinated in Japan throughout its history. They are Lee Naosuke, 1815–1860, Inejiro Asanuma, 1898–1960, and Shigeru Yoshida, 1878–1967. Ending this video, we can reflect on how the assassinations of political leaders around the world have had a profound impact on the history, politics, and society of their countries. These tragic events remind us of the importance of seeking peace, valuing human rights, and dialogue over violence. As we explore these stories, we can learn from the past to build a more just and harmonious future. If you like this content and want to continue receiving our videos, don't forget to leave your likes and subscribe to the channel. Share your opinions and suggestions in the comments below. And remember, understanding the past is critical to shaping our present and future. Until the next video.